This is the Modern SME, and our guest today is Gaurav Bhagat. Gaurav Bhagat is a renowned sales coach who helps businesses achieve 10x sales. He also runs a corporate gifting company, Consortium Gifts, which is one of the fastest growing companies in the space. Hi, Gaurav. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good evening, Anchal. Great to be here, and thank you for having me on your platform. Appreciate it.
Gaurav, like I mentioned in our discussions, our audience is mostly small and medium businesses. For their benefit, um, I would like you to begin with, discussing the common misconceptions that businesses have. You have been coaching businesses to increase their sales for decades. You have worked with both small and big businesses. In your experience, which are the common misconceptions that they have about what works in sales, what doesn't work in sales? Please discuss them with us and help us break them today.
Awesome. Yeah, and of course, I've worked extensively, as you mentioned, in the SME space, work with micropreneurs, solopreneurs, and going up to even large organizations, such as, the Microsofts and the Pine Labs and, and companies like H&I and Steelcase and the likes as well. So have had, tremendous amount of experience working with organizations on all sides of the spectrum, really. And interestingly, there are some common themes that come up, amongst organizations, especially in the SME space, and even in some of the mid-sized businesses. I'm hearing a lot of this where people say that, oh, sales will come automatically. We don't really need to go out there and actively prospect. We don't need to have any sales goals, that are there. It's almost, as they just believe that, we'll start something and, like Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. So it doesn't always work out that way. You actually have to get out there and, make some efforts. So it's very, very important, to go out and prospect. I think another area that people really go wrong is that, when they get a little bit of work and they have a pipeline that's relatively full, they actually stop going out there and prospecting. And that's where we talk about the second law of prospecting is this, that sometimes you feel your sales are like a roller coaster, that sometimes they're up and sometimes they're down, sometimes there's a feast and sometimes there's a famine. It's also because people stop prospecting when things were good. So it's I think one that's one really big misconception that abhi to hamare paas kaam hai, abhi to hame bahar jane ki zarurat nahi hai, baad mein dekh lenge, abhi to itna kaam hai, kaise karenge. So I think the big mistakes that they make is that they stop prospecting when the pipeline is even relatively full or is looking full. Big mistake. I think another mistake that people make, and it's a big misconception, is that sometimes I've seen organizations, a lot of promoters, believe that we are not in sales, okay, or everyone in the organization doesn't need to be in sales. But the truth is that everyone is selling in some form or the other. They're always trying to, either push their product, or at least they should, or their service, or they're selling someone on something. Getting people to join your organization, even that's sales. Getting banks to release some money or funds, for you to go out and do whatever you have to do, even that is sales. So I think the most important aspect is that everyone is in sales, and if people start thinking that are sales to sales wale hi karenge ya sales team karenge, I think then you're kind of setting yourself up for failure.
In fact, before we go ahead, I would like to tell our audience that even at Tofler, we have been coached by Gaurav to enhance sales and he completely changed our perspective regarding sales. We loved the course, and I hope we will. This conversation is as useful to our audience as the course was to us.
Yeah, thank you. And it was, of course, great having you on the course. And I love the Tofler platform. In fact, for a lot of our consulting mandates, and we actually go ahead and need data, we picked Tofler over Zoba or any of the other platforms out there. So keep doing the great job that you guys are doing. And I really love the market intelligence and the ease of flow and data and all of that. So appreciate the way you guys do your stuff as well.
Thank you, Gaurav. Gaurav, for small businesses, when it comes to sales, what are the lowest hanging fruits?
Yeah. Again, super question. And to my mind, and we talk about this extensively, is tap your power base, right? Each and every person, on this planet, they have a fan club, a so-called power base. And you don't have to be like a movie star, to have that kind of fan club. There are people who looked up to you in school, in college, people at work, perhaps, areas where you stay, if you play a particular sport, maybe the gym, the club. So your friends, even family members, So all of these people are people who make up your power base. Now, in sales, it's very important to bring down some of the barriers. Sales is about relationships. Sales is about trust and credibility. Now, hopefully, some of these people have some degree of trust in you, faith in you. They have known you over the years. They have seen what you do, and hence it is important for you to reach out to them. So lowest hanging fruit that you can actually tap, and something that I tell everyone go out for, is your power base, because the truth is that you need to get everyone that knows you to help you, right? I mean, mostly when people come into business, or they start selling a product or service, there is a belief that what they have to offer is for the betterment of mankind and humanity. So hence, the belief, if that belief is there within, and if you're convinced that you're selling a great product or service and you're not trying to scam anyone, reach out to those closest to you, hit your power base. So I'd say that is probably the number one thing I'd recommend. The second is, if you've been in business for some time and perhaps you've already reached out to your power base, and now you're looking for the next best thing. To my mind, the next best thing is reach out to your orphan clients. Now, orphan clients are clients who are being serviced by someone else in your organization. Maybe it was a relative, a partner, an employee, a manager. And if that person left the business for whatever reason, or just isn't as actively involved anymore, someone needs to draw up that list of people that you were working with, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 years back, and start reaching out to those people. Because what happened is, when the person or the manager who's managing them, or the account manager who's managing that account, is no longer in the picture, these clients are now actually orphan clients. I mean, and when we say orphan, it's just like orphan children, children who had no parents. So exactly the same thing has happened over here. And if you can reach out to your orphan clients, I think that's a great way of restoring your pipeline. And perhaps the third thing I want to share over here is just reach out to your customers often. Don't only wait for your customer to reach out to you when the requirement is, जब जरूरत होगी तो हमसे मांग लेंगे. Just be in touch. And it's not often necessary that you're calling them to sell them. Just send them something out, like send them a recording of this show, for example. It's a great way to interact with existing clients. Just say, hey, I had this conversation with GB, interesting conversation. I thought you might like it, might be able to help your organization. And who knows? It's just another way of of being in touch.
Great. Um, so, Gaurav, let's talk about segmenting businesses for sales. For example, I'm a business owner. How do I think about which bucket should I put my business into, so that I can think about the relevant sales strategies? There are different kind of segments. I could say maybe I want to put myself into a B2B or a B2C kind of segment. Then there's a luxury space, a commodity space. Then maybe I can think about domestic and exports market. So which buckets, how should I think about it?
Of course. No, I love that question. I love how you mentioned, B2B and B2C. And sometimes we get, questions when people are coming to our courses and our programs. This thing, sir, aap B2B karate ho, ya B2C karate ho, ya B2G is in government. And now, of course, what's trending is D2C, which is direct to customer, right? So there are all these questions, and like, will your stuff or will your programs don't really work with them? And I always tell them the same thing. I mean, it's my saying. It's a saying from another very established author. But he talks about the fact is that it could be a B2B, it could be a B2C, it could be a B2G, it could be a D2C. But just know this, that behind each of these people is a human being, right? It is a person, and hence what matters most is the H to H, okay, which is a human to human connection. That really is the most important aspect, and that's not changing, anytime soon. Yes, when someone is going ahead and positioning their product, there has to be, well, why do people buy anything? Okay, and the reason, and two primary reasons, is one is that there's a need or a problem that needs to be solved, and you have a product or service that solves it for them. Or the second is, why do people end up buying Apple? Because they fall in love, right? They fall in love with a particular, product or brand. So I think if I were to come in, and I keep launching new products and companies all the time, and I think when I'm coming into or coming out with the solution, my thought process is, what is the need of the market? What is the problem that people are looking to solve? Because it's a well-known fact that, like, you solve $1 million problem and you have your shot at being a millionaire. And the same is like a billionaire as well. So hence even the areas that my companies are now entering into, the new companies that we're launching, and there are 3 more in the pipeline. So they all are basically happening on the basis of a problem statement that the market currently has. There is a need that is really there, and what we're doing is we're coming in to address that need. So take feedback, don't just jump into something because, and I hear this, thing that annoys the hell out of me, that you have a passion and that passion to profession and all of that. Okay, it's a nightmare because a lot of these people who are doing this are going to get killed. I mean, there are people today, unfortunately, who are telling everyone, "Arey, passion hai, to bas dhanda start kar do, naukri chhod do, just jump into business and all of that." It's not easy, right? And unfortunately, people are saying that the success rate is 70%, 80%. I mean, you and I as entrepreneurs know that's not the case. The failure rate is 80%, right? Most businesses don't even make it past the first 6 months, all right? 85% or whatever the number is are not even making it past the first 2 years. So why is it that people are being sold these pipe dreams where they're being told to go out there and become, entrepreneurs and business people? I know people who have maxed out their credit cards to do, courses and consulting and, get that kind of, mentorship. And my question then is, how are they going to even start the business that, they now thought that they have, a passion for? So again, be mindful. Entrepreneurship might look great. There are so many people who we've known over the course of, well, I mean, not only the last, 2.5 pandemic years, but even in the past, people who said that, oh, I think enough is enough. Now I need to take a plunge into entrepreneurship. And they tried and it didn't work out. And now they've actually come back to, working again. There's nothing wrong, with even being at work, being, contributing to, a larger organization. I mean, that Grant Cardone is someone that I do a lot of work with. Now look at Jared Grant. He came on. Jared is now Grant's president, earlier his vice president, probably a third employee that Grant had on his team. And here is a guy who has built, immense wealth, fame, good fortune by being on Grant's team, okay, and working towards that common vision and goal that they really are. So point being, okay, the age to age, the human to human piece. Point being that, okay, you want to solve a problem, you want to address a need, you want to get people to fall in love with you, your product, your company. So those are the areas that are most important as far as I'm concerned. And truly, sales isn't complicated. One has to just focus on the relationship and focus on delivering the right customer experience, and the rest will follow. The market will tell you where you intend or deserve to be. Once you go out there with your product and service and you actually launch it and you put it out there, you will start getting feedback. And it's very important to get feedback, adjust and adapt, and you'll be very, in a position to tell exactly where you should be. So that would just be my thought over there.
All right. So, for example, I just pick up a business. Maybe they are manufacturing pipes and plumbing material. They have an existing business, let's say maybe 10 crores of turnover. Where would you put them? How should they think about their sales?
Right. Okay, so let's say if you're taking pipes and we're talking about water pipes, perhaps, and it's a competitive space. I mean, you have companies like, Astral who are there, who are doing really well. Yet there is, of course, it's a huge market. It's a very interesting space that you mentioned as well, because what's happening in the area of pipes, the old pipes that, were there maybe 15 years and before, which is before the PVC pipes actually came in. A lot of those pipes are now in buildings which are actually, rusting, which are then homes, factories, offices, which actually now are rusting. So there's a big replacement market that's actually coming into that place. Now, yes, while, it's a great place to be. As I mentioned, there's also competition, and which is fine because there will be competition in pretty much everything you do. I mean, you can't really, expect to be in a situation where there is a monopoly or a duopoly or anything along those lines. So, I mean, my positioning here would be, if I was in this particular space, I mean, I would see, what my input costs are, like, what is really, my cost of product. What is my cost of marketing? What is my cost of overhead? What really is my break even? Where am I looking at really taking this over the course of the next few years? And hence, in a way, then I would position it based on the geographical, location that I'm in, my target market. So there would be a little bit of, let's say a market survey, etc., that be necessary. But I would take a call, based on all those factors. Many 10 crores is not bad. 10 crores means that, a lot of the initial hurdles, have been crossed. What will also have to be seen is that, is this a company that is doing some kind of manufacturing on their own, or they're a trading company? So a manufacturing company will have a different approach. A trading company will have a different approach, and hence even their margins will actually change. So many things come into play really. I don't think as a PVC pipe supplying company, you can actually go into a luxury market, because brand is not really that important here. Remember what we talk about in the course as well, where we talk about APES. A is appearance, P is performance, E is economics, and S is the safety and security. Now, in this case, obviously, appearance is not really going to matter because the pipe is concealed behind, concrete wall. So it's embedded inside a concrete wall. So appearance is not going to play that important a role. Performance, obviously, I mean, you want to have a pipe that goes into that wall, and then the pipe is leaking, and it's got all the holes or whatever, and hence you have to break down the pipe because of water seepage. So obviously, performance is very important. Economics will play somewhat of an important role here. I would rather build value in terms of talking about the quality of the PVC being used. Perhaps it was a global collaboration, which companies like Astral have done, where they brought in pipes from, or at least the technology from Europe. So hence, the value building happens on that side, and safety security by giving a warranty saying that 10 saal ki warranty hai ya 15 saal ki warranty hai. So hence you kind of build up value. So in this case, it would be more of a value proposition. But if you take another example, and let's take something else, like from the example of I don't know. Let's take luggage, okay? Because luggage is a segment where there's a whole bunch of things happening. On the higher end, you have the Samsonites and the Tumis and the Moblas. Don't see the Mobla video I posted on Insta recently. My bag just collapsed. But point being that you've got the higher end, so you've got the Moblas, you've got the Tumis, you have Samsonite, let's say, which is up there as well. And then you have the lower segment. A lot of luggage is right now being manufactured in Nagpur, by Indian manufacturers who are, sometimes perhaps OEMs for, VIP like
Yeah.
Blowblast, etc. So they've come out with a trolley bag, which is 1,500 rupees, like a cabin trolley bag at 1,500. Mobla is probably at the highest end at about 60,000. So now you have a very wide range to play with. And in this case, when someone is deciding, which segment, should I actually enter, again, it would perhaps depend on the long-term goals that this organization has. Are they going to be an institutional player where they're looking to, give, trolley bags to a pharma company like Cipla for doctors who travel? Now, in that case, they know that they can't get more than 1,800 rupees. So perhaps then they're playing like, a volume, cost-effective game. But on the flip side, if someone decides, what, I think there's a good gap in the middle. I think I want to position myself higher than, one of these unbranded, suppliers, but I don't want to be as high as a Samsonite, maybe something like, like a Safari or a VIP kind of thing. So somewhere in between, and hence they bring in a little bit of innovation and they position themselves, in between. So it's really dependent on, I again think, market forces, capabilities, capacities, goals, what you really want. There's an organization that I work with right now, fantastic company, and the promoter has said, I don't want to be the biggest. He said, I don't want to become, like a multi-thousand crore company. He said, yet I want to be recognized as someone who is an established brand, who delivers on quality. So I think a lot of times the promoter really has to, ask himself or herself, what is your why? What is your purpose? And, what is your objective? Like, what will be, even your legacy? And maybe when you start from there and you work backwards, that will probably help in determining what segment you should be looking at. My thought.
All right. You briefly touched APES theory while you were discussing this. Could you elaborate it a little in context of general businesses? This is a very interesting piece.
Absolutely. So let's take it, from the perspective of when a company is looking to launch, a product, a service, even launch the company, for example, and they say that, okay, this is going to be our key offering. Now, the 4 parameters that you have to look at is called the APES. And when I say apes, I don't mean the bandars or the gorillas from Planet of the Apes, but apes is actually an acronym for exactly those 4 things. A stands for appearance, right? P stands for performance, E stands for the economics, and S stands for safety and security. Okay, when you think about it and think about anything that you have bought, or I may have bought in the last few weeks, months, or years, it would be these 4 parameters that will make the buying decision actually happen, or that influence the buying decision greatly. So it's always said that it's these 4 reasons why a buying decision is made. There is no fifth reason. So hence, think about it. When you bought a pair of shoes, what did you like? Was it the appearance, like the way they looked, or the way you made, or the way they made you look? Was it the performance, in terms of the comfort and how they felt when you actually put them on? Was it the economics? And I don't mean sasta. I mean, in terms of value, that what was charged, okay, vis-a-vis what you got back in terms of what you derived. Was that economically, did it make sense? What happens in sales, that if the price you're asking for is higher and the value you're delivering is lower, it's going to be a tough sell, because the person like pata nahi, samajh nahi aa raha, itna hona chahiye, nahi hona chahiye. So only when the value is higher and the price kind of is lower and makes sense, then one will say, okay, you know what, I need to do this. So hence the economic aspect comes in over there. And the last is, safety, security, so all of that. So will these last? And hence you see so many companies that give things like, a money back guarantee or a guarantee in case something goes wrong or a warranty. So that kind of tells them that, hey, listen, we've been in the business for so many years. We're not going away. If something goes wrong, we're actually here to service you. Like I know about an air conditioning company recently, and they decided to come out with one model which met all four criteria. Now, it's not necessarily that you have to meet all four criteria, but they came out with a great looking air conditioner. So it looked awesome. So it scored really high on appearance. The performance was great. It was a 4.5 star, on the star matrix of, of air conditioners. It was 4.5 stars. So performance was great. Economics, they knew that it's a way of, predatory pricing to get some market share back from the market. They knew the COVID times had led to, some kind of issues, etc. So they came out with a very value for money proposition. And while other companies were giving a 2-year warranty on the compressor, they actually gave a 3-year warranty on the compressor. So they actually met A, P, E, and S. They met all four. Obviously, it did great. On the basis of that product, they had other products that kind of piggybacked and went into the market again. Again, I'm not saying that you have to have all four. You can just be a company that says, hey, you know what, we're all about appearance and we don't care about the other stuff. Someone can say we're a performance machine, so obviously you don't care about other stuff. So it could be all four, it could be one of four, it could be two of four, three of four, but definitely not zero of four. So that would just be my recommendation to all your listeners.
Thank you, Gaurav. Very helpful. Uh, Gaurav, how does a small and medium business begin to build a sales team? Because what happens is with SMEs, one, they have low budgets. Second, they have low bandwidths because generally the promoter, the founder is wearing multiple hats and they are typically heading all of the business and all of the divisions. So they're low on bandwidth. And third, they also have a lack of talent pool. Not all people are running to join SMEs. So how would you suggest how they should start building a sales team? What kind of people they should hire?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing I'll say at the outset is just this, that never ever think of hiring as an expense, right? When we're starting out, and no matter how small we are, like I started my first company from home. And I'm, of course, going to go back now to 1997, 98, when Consortium started, from home as a solopreneur, which was me. And at the time I said, oh, you know what, I don't have, the resources to get anyone. And the first person I probably brought on in Narinder, who's still with me even today, 22 years later. So he's, handling a lot of our online dispatches and, that kind of division. Indrajit followed. Indrajit is, of course, our general manager, and he's there. And he's, of course, the person behind the entire organization. So all of these are places that we have to kind of extend ourselves a little bit. So not only are you letting go of a little bit of, let's just say, money, but you're also letting go a little bit of, authority and all of that. Even when I met Grant Cardone, I said, Grant, GC bro, what is the biggest mistake you ever made? And he says, for 16 years, I was a solopreneur. 16 saal, he did everything himself. So imagine, creating your content, delivering your content, creating the invoices, sending the invoices, following up for payments, following up for more business. I mean, I would just go crazy. And I'm like, that's just nuts. So when I did take Grant's license, and this is in the Gaurav Bhagat Academy, July 2018, the first thing I called, my team, and I said, let's start hiring for the GBA. And that's where we had, the team come in, for the GBA. Today we have, even though it's an organization that's lean, I mean, there we have someone in accounts, we have in, social media, we have, an admin, we have a couple of people in other divisions as well. But the point is that we just knew that, okay, we need to invest in these people, because then, we as, the key entrepreneurs can focus on strategy, can focus on business development, can focus on getting out there and making the larger things happen. I mean, ideally, I mean, if I started, making now, the designs and the slides and the invoices and following up on payments, it would be a major waste of my time, and if your purpose in your company is to go out there and change the world with your product and service, you can't be doing the really small things. Now, coming back to your point of, okay, but we can't afford it. Think about it. There are today people, the gig economy exists today. There are things which are never there in the 1990s or early 2000s, like the Fivers and all the places where you have a gig economy going, where you can actually get, I mean, an online Filipino virtual assistant who can come and work for you for 10,000 rupees a month. Now, 10,000 rupees a month for someone who could be that productive to take care of all your stuff, why do you not explore that option? Why do you not go to a Fiverr to have someone, design a brochure for $5, right? And if you think, nahi, ye to main khud hi kar lunga, to kya kya aap khud karoge? You can't. So I just think it's very important to, of course, believe that, yes, I need to let go. Yes, believe that, okay, it's going to be a little bit of an investment. So never think of hiring as an expense. Think of it as an investment. It will be an investment, but it will pay off like 10x. So that's very important. In terms of the process, that we follow, and I always tell people the first thing is be very certain on who you need and what you need them for. So, of course, the first thing is, create that JD where you write down every possible thing that you want from this person. And there's a list I used to once make, and I said, okay, these are the essentials. Okay, these are things that are non-negotiables. Ye to hona hi hona hai, right? Then there are the desirables, which is that if these things are there, that'll be super. And finally, you have, the bonus areas. If those are there, then, to like chandi chandi, so as they speak. And I remember sending this once to, the hiring company. So the consultant who was helping us, and he calls me back and he says, "Sir, tum, ab ye dhoond rahe ho ki Iron Man?" So I said, the point is, okay, that's my wish list. I said, buddy, bring what you can bring to the table. I said, this is what I really want. And fine, we probably found, someone who was somewhere in the middle, but it actually happened. So very important to write down absolutely everything that you want of the person. Of course, the next thing is then float it. And you can do it through, the sites that are there, the Naukris and all of that. And of course, you've got the companies. You can also put on your own social media, which is free. Put out on LinkedIn, put out on your own Facebook, your own Insta. We've started using Hirect. Hirect is an awesome app. It's something that's available to everyone. You can actually post positions directly, get feedback. So our last 4 positions have happened through Hirect. I really like that app.
Mhm.
So that's that. So you float the position. Of course, once you start getting responses in sales, I see you must ask for a video, because a video is, these are people who are going to be customer facing, either on a Zoom screen like we are now, or they're going to be getting in front of people. So you want to know, okay, what does he or she look like? How are they speaking? Will they be able to do justice to my product? Now, sometimes you have people who won't send you a video. And at that point, maybe you just want to think that, okay, if this person is not even confident enough to send me a video, will they be the right people to go out there and be marketing me ahead? So yes, it will be a hit and miss. You'll have some people who will kind of miss on this. You'll have some people who will hit on this. Um, you could also do a Zoom call where, once you've said that, okay, this person seems right, let's do a Zoom call. So you can do a Zoom call. You can see how that interaction actually went. So that would be another step I'd recommend. Um, DISC, I love DISC in sales. And DISC is, of course, a psychometric assessment. It's DISC. And if you send them a DISC test, what you get back is it helps tell you what kind of person this is, and what is their natural state and what is their adapted state. At the GBA, I'm also DISC certified. And I think in sales, when you get DISC along with all the other sales things, then you're out there to really crush it. So I still do a conversation where I still ask the salesperson in terms of sell me this pen, and you hand over a pen to them, and everyone says, oh, but that is a cliched question. But I'll tell you this: there are people who I've known who've had 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of experience, and I say, sell me this pen, and they pick up the pen and say, sir, itna comfortable hai, itna acha likhta hai, itna sundar hai. I'm like, but you did not even fact find. You did not even ask me if I use a pen, or maybe I moved to one of these Apple tablets now, and I've got an Apple Pencil. So you didn't even ask me about my current condition. You just started pushing what you thought was right. So that is a big red flag. And personally, I've been in interviews where I've told people they were great, everything else is super. But because they didn't fact find, I said, I'm sorry, I can't hire you. And they're like, I don't know why. And they said, because you did not fact find. In sales, if you don't fact find, okay, then you're going to get the rates of, and no offense to anyone here, but someone who just sells vegetables on a cart, so like a sabzi wala. If you want to get the rates of a consultant, you have to ask questions like a consultant. You have to fact find. And if someone says I've been doing sales for 10 years and they don't fact find and they get straight to the demonstration, for me that's a red flag which is not going to fly. And of course, once we hire them, we always hire with a 3-month trial, saying that if it works, great, this is your package. After 3 months, you'll be at this point, you get these kind of benefits. And if it doesn't, well, then that's just too bad. So I would recommend use some of these, techniques. Of course, be very clear on who you need. Use the power of video to get stuff in. Use apps like Hirect and others, when you're floating these positions. And yeah, and definitely go out and hire. Don't ever think that paise kahan se aayenge. Boss matlab, when you go out for your Saturday nights, have a couple of whiskeys less or have a couple of beers less, right? Put some money aside. But, and like I said, go out there and take a loan if you have to. When I started my first company, I need money. I didn't have money. I went to a bank and the bank says, "What's your collateral?" I had no collateral, and he said, "Kuch to hoga." And I said, "Hi, like my parents did an LIC policy. Can I get a loan against the LIC policy?" So I pledged my LIC policy that my parents had taken from me when I was a kid, and that's how I got my first 6 lakh rupees to do my first thing. So just know that where there's a will, there's a way. Today you have there's so much happening in terms of crowdfunding. There is so much happening in terms of people who will just want to come out and help you, but never ever think that hiring shouldn't be happening and we can do everything ourselves. It's the biggest mistake and the biggest disservice that one can do to themselves.
All right. That really came from heart. Okay. Um, Gaurav, briefly, what would be a good incentive structure, or how should one think of an incentive structure for their business? And
Yeah.
these are SMEs. They don't. I mean, you know how SMEs work. These are not big corporates who could provide perks and corporate perks on incentives. So,
Yeah, and again, I mean, if I go back, I mean, we've had an incentive structure in play at Consortium Gifts, even when our turnover was just a couple of crores, so it wasn't even like, we were doing, really big. But once we start bringing on sales teams, we realize that you can't be giving a salary which makes a salesperson comfortable. It has to be a hybrid mix. So there has to be the salary, but there also has to be an incentive, right? And the incentive, I mean, in some cases I've seen companies who are very meager with the incentive, saying that nahi, hum paisa nahi kamate hain. Now come on, can you not take out at least 1 or 1.5% in the entire cost of the product, towards an incentive? So what I would recommend is that have a salary which is well enough to at least have them show up at work. I think that's something that's very important. But then have an incentive structure which pushes them to do more. Some of our top guys, I mean, they were qualifying at about 15 lakhs in terms of monthly sales, and then it just the entire structure was such, it was so attractive that today the same guys are now doing a crore, crore and a half, 2 crores, and just hungry for more. Like last month, there was one of our guys who did 3 crores, and he's like, "So can I have more referrals? I want to hit five." I said, "You want to do 5 crores in 1 month? Are you like not happy?" He's like, "No, I want to do this for my dad, and I want to set up a restaurant for him, and this incentive would really help." I'm like, "Awesome, go for it." And these are people on our teams who joined and they were all on bikes or buses or metros. They had nothing. Today they have all come to a position where they're able to, now they all have their own cars. They've been all able to invest in flats, apartments, homes. They've been able to go out there and create phenomenal wealth, not only for themselves but even for their family members. So hence I would say go hybrid. Give them a salary which is not something that makes them comfortable. Too many times I see these large companies that I go into where the salary package is so good that the sales guys are now just comfortable and they think a charge meeting nahi ho paye, and they're not hungry enough to go out there. So very important, to keep it a mix of both. And the incentive is where the big money is going to come, right? So get the sales, get your incentives. So definitely hybrid structure is what I'd recommend.
very useful. Gaurav, like you just mentioned that you started with getting a loan basis your LIC policy as collateral. I'm curious, how did you start? How did you get your initial few clients?
Yeah. So in fact, even before the loan, my first venture, which is Consortium Gifts, was started with 10,000 rupees drawn on a credit card. Right. I was in the first year of college. My dad came home and he told me that, his business that he was trying to do a JV. And we came from a very well-to-do family growing up. My time was spent at the nightclubs, of the Gumrus and the Oasis and, all of the nightclubs in Delhi. So I had access to a lot of stuff. We traveled the world and all of that. But one day in the first year of college, he comes home and he says that we're broke and we have no money left. And I said, "When you say no money, how much money do we have left?" And he says, "All the money I have left is the money in my wallet." So I said, "Wow, what do you want me to do?" And he's like, "I don't know. I think you'll figure something out." So interestingly, I had a Sanar credit card. The school that I went to, the boarding school that I'd gone to, they'd given us credit cards, and I withdrew 10,000 rupees from a credit card, and that's how I started my first company. So of course, we've been fortunate, in that sense. But yeah, so we bootstrapped and we still kind of bootstrap our way up. Even today we have not let, like, a lot of the guys in the space of modern venture who let a lot of equity go and have angel funds and venture capitalists and private equity funds running behind them, or they running behind them. We haven't let any equity go. It's still a completely family held company between my wife and myself, and we haven't done that. And we just went ahead and we bootstrapped. We took it one day at a time. How did we get our first clients? Well, it was crazy. I mean, there was so much rejection. I remember going to companies who we today service, not only in India, but in APAC and in some places, even around the world. I mean, I have actually been chased out by that procurement guy saying that, bhai, tu to kuch bhi nahi pata. I remember one time there was this one company we went to, and it was in Mohan Cooperative. I remember really clearly, even today, it's an account that we have today at Consortium. I'm not going to name the company because it's an account we now service. Of course, that gentleman is no longer there. But it was New Year's time, and diaries are being asked for. And he asked me, and he's looking at the diary, and I was obviously not 100% certain about what I was really selling. And he says, "Iska grammage kitna hoga paper ka? 300 gram." Now, okay, at that time I had no idea that okay, a diary paper should be 75 GSM or
Yeah.
80 or and I said, "हाँ 300 होगा." So he like right there he started. He says, "ऐसा है जब कुछ सीख जाओगे धंधे के बाद ना धंधे के बारे में तब वापस आना. Right now there is no place for you here." And he called the security से इनको बाहर ले जाओ. So there was just so much rejection that we got, and I think company after company after company there were just so many no's, and hence I say salespeople need a little bit of thick skin because a lot of rejection. And when you're starting out, yes, there will be rejection, but you always have to keep going back to the fact that I need to do this for a reason, like for a purpose. Of course, for that time, people say, "Oh, what was your aspiration?" I said, "Konsi aspiration?" It was desperation, right? Because the point is that if at that time I didn't, sell, it would have been a very embarrassing situation, for the family. I mean, we were defaulted in a lot of things, and hence, and Damon John from Shark Tank, he says this as well. He says it's either aspiration or desperation. I mean, sometimes it's about, okay, I aspire to become, the biggest in the world or the biggest in my industry or whatever. So that's aspiration. And sometimes desperation, where you have no choice that, if you don't swim, you're going to sink. So it is both ways. Our first big break came thanks to Maruti, and Maruti in 1999, 2000 for Auto Expo clearly by chance, gave us an opportunity. There is no way we should have got that order. There is no way we should have been able to successfully fulfill that order. But I said that, sometimes there's a little bit of luck involved as well. And, things just played out well. And yeah, from there on, we knew that, okay, this is the one we need to be doing. So, yeah.
Great. That's quite a story.
Thank you.
Uh, anyway, we have come to the end of time. This is such an important topic, and there's a lot to dig here. But I'm sure even this conversation would be very useful to our audience. But before I let you go, Gaurav, one last question. Uh, in these years of work that you have put in sales, what has surprised you most?
Okay, interesting. Um, so I think what surprises me in general about people is that they expect results to come really easily. And they start thinking, "Oh, I've been doing this for 2 weeks or 2 months, or sometimes even 6 to 8 months. Why am I not doing better?" And interestingly, it was a conversation I was having even with some of the new sales guys on my team, and they're like, "Sir, हमसे तो 2 लाख का नहीं हो रहा, और बाकी लोग 2 crore कर रहे हैं." I'm like, do you know how long it's taken them to build that relationship and build that rapport and bring those numbers? So I think what surprises me is the patience level that people have in terms of how soon they expect results to come. So I think that's something that surprises me. I think what also I find amusing is how scared people are of rejection, and hence they don't even go out there to ask or make the effort. I think that really surprises me. The third thing that really surprises me is the fact that people just make one or two follow-ups, and they said काम नहीं हुआ, like धंधा नहीं मिला. And I'm like, do you know this, that 80% of all sales happen between the 5th and the 12th follow-up, sometimes even more. And you followed up once or twice and you said dhanda nahi hua. So if you've done it only once or twice, just know this, that 95% of the business is still on the table, which you haven't even gone out to get. So if that's going to be approach, then you're in a bit of trouble. So that surprises me, the lack of follow-up as well.
I was about to end this discussion, but you touched the topic of follow-ups, and I'm sorry, but just one more minute on this, because I remember being very, very surprised when we learned this from you. Most of the people leave follow-ups at twice or thrice because they feel that maybe they're pushing the client. Please, just 1 minute on this.
Of course, no, and without a doubt. And the thing with most people is that their idea of follow-up is, send a WhatsApp message saying that, "Oh, sir, ma'am, order nahi mila." Send an email saying, "Sir, ma'am, order nahi aaya." Finally, they might pick up a phone and make a phone call or two saying order nahi aaya. Eventually, they start even getting down to sending good morning messages in the morning, which is a disaster. So you have to be innovative with your follow-up. So you have to be visible, right? You have to be in a way, still on the mind of the customer. So even if this person is not ready to buy right now, whenever they are ready to buy, the first name that should come to their mind should be yours. So it's very, very important to have innovation in terms of follow-up. So when you create even a segment like this, and you make like a podcast or a YouTube video out of it, and you send it across, to your people saying, hey, this is an interesting conversation. I think it's going to help. Let me know what you think. Now, yes, it was visibility for Gaurav Bhagat and the Gaurav Bhagat Academy, yes, but it was also, great visibility, for you. So it was an interesting, follow-up mechanism. Sometimes it could happen even by, sending out things like gifts. It could happen by, sending out interesting links, success stories, something interesting that's happened, hosting events, hosting webinars. So all of these ways are interesting ways of, follow-up. And I think it's important that we just realize that 1, 2, 3, even 4 is not enough. 5 to 12, sometimes even more, is a number of follow-ups it's going to take. And your follow-up can't just be calling someone and asking them for the order. That cannot be your primary strategy. So that would be my thought on follow-up.
Great, Gaurav. Thank you so much for being here today. It was a very useful discussion.
Hey, my pleasure. And you guys, keep rocking it at Tofler and keep doing all the great things that you do. And we, of course, are subscribers for life. And thank you for, doing all the good work that you guys do as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.